Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. At the 12 o'clock location, we have MouzStrelok as the red Terran. 6 o'clock location, we have Mana, also on Team Mouz, as the green Protoss. This is clanmate on clanmate action, both part of the illustrious Team Mouz. It is on Losttemple and part of the Zotac Cup, and I'm really excited about this replay because I've yet to see either of these guys who are old Starcraft vets lapping over to Starcraft 2, and I think they're both really talented foreigners. If you're unfamiliar with Strelok, he's always really been a top 10 foreigner Starcraft Terran. And really the thing I want to emphasize is that he's intelligent, he's consistent, and he's generally a pretty safe player. Really, when you're thinking about the old school, like if you can, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they had the statistic lines on the players, I would never say that he was the best at any one thing. I'd never say that he was the best macro, he was the best micro work, but he was always like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 in almost every category. And then on top of that, very intelligent, very consistent. And I really am excited to see him play in this match. Of course, he's going up against a teammate who's probably more familiar with this style, has seen him play a lot, and they probably practice against each other pretty regularly. And so we'll see how that kind of factors in. You have Mana, and Mana, he's one of those guys that started to really shine at the end of Brood War, well, I'm not going to say Brood War is over with, but as it was shifting over and you had a lot of guys lapping over to StarCraft 2, and the beta was out, and it's still closed beta, things like that, he put a lot of time in to the ladder on iCup, also for TSL. And as you saw him output a lot of games, essentially his skill level started to increase, and you saw him basically, he's always been very good. I don't want to say that he hasn't been. I really felt like he shined right at the end of Brood War though, and he is now scouting the 3 o'clock location with his probe. Looks like you have Strelok scouting the 9 o'clock position as well. It looks like they are cross positions, so I'm expecting a little bit supply depot push-ups. I love that. So I expect a little less aggression, a little bit more macro emphasis. Looks like Strelok is just doing a standard supply depot barracks getting gas as well, and it looks like we have same thing on Mana side. You have a gateway and gas with a cybernetic score. See if he decides to skip Zealot and go for Stalker first to provide a little bit of information now. And kind of odd from Mana, he's actually deciding, he went straight from 3 o'clock to the 9 o'clock location with this probe, which is actually going to hurt him. He's not going to see this 12 o'clock location and that tech lab being added on. Looks like you do have that orbital command facility as well as an additional supply depot. Let's see if, so it doesn't look like we're going to see straight 1 racks into expansion. It's possible we'll see Reaper, and I would say more or less for scouting information a little bit later from, and I've seen a couple Terran do that, essentially go Reaper later, not necessarily to do some damage, but no, never mind, I take it back. You have Concussive Shells upgrade from Strelok, so it looks like he's going to be a little bit more aggressive, probably on seeing the second assimilator, so assuming perhaps seeing that second assimilator and not the second gateway instead. So perhaps thinking he's going to go up against Robotics Tech. And I'm surprised he's deciding to do this, particularly at cross positions. It looks like that Marine just right then I heard a little bit of an explosion there, able to kill the probe and escort it out of his base. But I'm surprised that Strelok's deciding to do this at cross positions. Looks like that barracks is being built because this attack is going to come extremely delayed. It's a lot later. It looks like you have that SCV just chilling on that Zelnaga watchtower. It might pay off for him though, because it looks like you have a Stalker and a Zealot to defend against this, as well as a Sentry. And that Stalker actually wandering out towards the front, hoping to perhaps catch a follow-up SCV or perhaps put up some pressure, I'm not sure, but moving out in the front, and it is going to get caught off guard right as that Concussive Shell is ready, and Reaper actually to follow this up. So interesting play here from Strelok, perhaps wanting to split these forces in 2. If he can keep these forces alive long enough and more or less pin Mana's forces to this front door, it could really pay off. Looks like you do have a Zealot and a Sentry now, so and let's see if Mana can defend this without, okay, no, he's going to drop the force field there, which actually might pay off from Strelok, but Strelok having a little bit of trouble microing this, so ends up losing his Marauder, ends up losing his Marine as well, but that force field going to drop, and that additional Marauder just going to be able to wander directly in a robotics facility and a gateway to follow this up. And it looks like Mana should be able to defend this, but will he defend it in time is really what it comes down to. And so loses, okay, and another Stalker now to help defend, loses that Marauder, and that Reaper now going to have to back off and hide. But now so he's not going to be pinned back necessarily, but this Reaper is going to be able to wander around, get some additional scouting information, going to see that gateway, and maybe get some additional probe kills. So still going to pay off a little bit. And I think this would have been a much more successful attack at close positions, but again, a little bit more distance for Strelok to try to, a pretty decent defense there by Mana. Actually still lost a couple probes, but not hurting as much as he would have been otherwise. And an Observer now in the field for Mana. It looks like 3 gateways, robotics facility, and Observer. Now he's in a nice position where once he pushes that observer out, he's going to have a good look at what's happening on the front. Looks like StrayLok decided to follow this up with an expansion. He's also getting that factory up, so teching up here a little bit. I assume he's going to go to medevac, and Mouz, yeah, Mana, very quickly following this up with an expansion. And I like this play from him, because even though warping in 2 sentries, even though it's a little bit more difficult to defend this with just 3 sentries, because you have to have perfect force fields and things like that, with that robotics facility, with this probe on that Xel'Naga watchtower, and with that observer, which is going to be floating out probably in this position, he's going to be able to keep a good eye on what StrayLok's troop count is. He's going to see that expansion. If he needs to put out more troops, he can do so rather rapidly and kind of cope very, very quickly with any sort of incoming attack. I'll have a good idea of what StrayLok's tech is at and when, and right here with this expansion, because StrayLok actually decided to again play safe, build it inside of his base and now landing it to the 12 to take it. He's going to take a brief economic lead, but Mana's not going to be too far behind, and it looks like he is just about even on harvesters despite losing several of those harvesters. StrayLok is going to have that a little bit of an advantage just because of those mules, but not so huge and not so significant that it's going to win him the game outright. In the meantime, pretty nice tech position. Looks like an immortal being produced, so Mana not actually just expending a lot of troops out of here, so I'm almost wondering if he's thinking about going for another, actually kind of low on production, I should say. Got to transfer those probes yet before he can really start pumping out of these warp gates. So brief drop in economy right there. Let me switch back to the production tab. Stimpack is upgraded here, and we do have that starport being built. And now the question is what will Mana do? I almost feel like, because we already know what StrayLok is probably up to. He's got that medevac. He can go up, maybe do some drop shenanigans. What I love seeing Terran do is run up and just attack, do a little bit of stim, and then pull back that medevac just to kind of test that front door. Now some of those troops being output towards that natural expansion. A comsat right on the front to get a good look, and it looks like, I'm not sure how much information StrayLok got out of that, because I think most of that was dodged by Mana, and Mana actually hiding his troops to the north here and now bringing them back a little bit. Let's see if that observer is going to be able to shift out of position. Actually, where'd that observer go? There it is. If that observer is going to be able to catch these medevacs, he does see a couple troops moving out here in the field. He no longer has this Xel'Naga tower thing, but it looks like StrayLok is going to start pushing out. That observer is going to sneak back. It is going to see kind of the, a lot of this stuff in the background, the additional barracks. So it looks like StrayLok kind of investing in a large infantry follow-up, so probably going to be a little bit more aggressive rather than defensive, rather than going for a quick gold expansion. He's going to put on some pressure, and the way he's going to do it's probably with this medevac, and let's see if he follows up with a troop attack on the front door. He's going to clear this and give the impression, and I like that, a little bit of attack and a backup, because that's really going to give Mana the impression that he has to keep these troops here, because maybe attack is coming on the front door, but Mana actually dedicating just a couple stalkers here in the backfield should be able to deal with this nicely. Combat shield upgrade is going to help a lot once it just now coming online against these stalkers. Wow, shield's right there, so now these stalkers are going to have a little bit more trouble against these Marines than they would have otherwise. So even though that attack was very quickly taken care of, StrayLok is going to get some bonus stalkers out of it, and the Marines doing very, very well again. Oh, never mind. So running up, taking out the stalkers, and all of a sudden the giant mammoth, they just kind of turn around and look behind them. Hey, what's that warm for? That's kind of the life of the Marine right there. 2 additional assimilators being popped on that natural expansion, and StrayLok still has most of his information, what he's up to, being revealed here by that observer. It looks like he's lifted off that factory, probably going to move it to the south to get some scouting information, some additional barracks, and actually popping on some reactors, and yeah, heavy dedication to infantry, and looks like medevac's also getting a couple Vikings to follow this up, and it looks like, oh man, worst timing for Mana, going up to open up that destructible rock right as StrayLok is dropping at his natural expansion, able to kill a lot of probes, might be able to take out this pylon, but Mana's actually in a pretty nice defensive position as long as he brings that Colossus back. So losing a bit of his economy, taking a bit of damage there, still behind in harvester count just because of the damage that I feel like was wreaked here and there. Actually significantly behind, but these Marines should be taken care of fairly easily by this Colossus, and once again the Berserk, and oh, look at the flaming, horrible, ashy death. Looks like that factory's starting to move out for that scouting, and the probe not on the Xel'Naga watchtower, but still nearby where it might be able to provide some additional information. Continual fiery death from that Colossus on these Marines, and for a second there it looks like just a little bit of health left, but 2 more dropships coming across the 9 o'clock location, and we do have a couple Vikings and some more Marines out in the field, and it looks like StrayLok is just going to do drop pressure, drop pressure, drop pressure. Looks like some more stalkers and some zealots now to provide some defense in the back edge. I don't think he actually has zealot charge yet, and so now the Marauders dropping the stalkers right there, and the zealots do not have charge, but they are going to be able to get up, but still not a lot of anti-air. It looks like a Colossus right there, not able to get the dropship, but let's see if he just comes and keeps keeping mana in a locked position back and forth. I don't think there's enough Marines really to provide a threat here at the natural. So very nice defense from Mana, but a lot of Vikings have been produced, and a sizable army has been produced by StrelokK. He hasn't lost. He's probably going to end up losing that factory, but he hasn't really lost any medevacs. Has a pretty sizable army. It looks like he has a significant army troop count lead, so StrelokK can actually push up with an attack and take that natural expansion. He's just, you can see just that little bit of harassment and a decent amount of macro keeping ahead. Now dropping those Marines to once again disrupt Mana's natural expansion, to continue to disrupt his economy. He's going to wander up, and actually he's going to lose this dropship maybe a little bit too aggressive there. No, actually able to pull it back nicely. Some Stalkers warping in on the low ground to do some additional damage, but yeah, he is going to be able to sneak out of there. But doing a fantastic job of one macroing up. And this is what I'm talking about, StrelokK, consistency. Able to macro up, get a significantly large army, keep Mana pinned back, continue harassment, and now he's going to be able to take that gold expansion with a serious threat of an army well before Mana is, well, actually, never mind, just as Mana is taking his gold expansion. So even though Mana is taking his gold expansion right now, I feel like StrelokK really has the advantage here, because first of all, big ground army. He could actually maybe even take an additional base, plus these dropships have been absolutely destructive to Mana's economy, just pummeling him back and forth, and it looks like this dropship, let's see if it wanders out as bait. Finally Mana oh, this is the worst possible time for this, actually. Mana hanging out near this Zelnaga watchtower, and he doesn't, there's the comsat right there. So now Mana with that comsat has to realize, oh crap, out of position, has to draw these troops back, and he has not a lot to defend it. He does have that single Colossus, but I don't think this Colossus is going to be enough to defend against all this, but it is enough to buy time to bring in more Colossi and just wreck this army. But nevertheless, this is still more distraction for Mana. That's still more troops lost. That's still him being pinned back and forcing to draw his army back. Again, the dropship going, or I'm sorry, the medevac dropping to the natural expansion, going to be able to get some more probe kills. Might lose these 3 Marines finally, but Mana still pinned to home base. Still not really able to dropship, or sorry, medevac gets out. I keep doing that. Need to stop that. Nexus up, but I feel like StrelokK has done a fantastic job of just maintaining medevacs across the board, has a very large army, done fantastic job macroing up. He's almost 50 supply over Mana at this stage, so in a fantastic position, has that gold expansion. That gold expansion should be saturated and running in not too long. You could probably wander out and take additional troops. It looks like Mana is now on the offensive. He does have those 3 mighty Colossi in the background. He also has some sentries down below, so even though this is a smaller army, it could pack a lot of punch. But keep in mind, those Vikings running up, big battle, nice force fields to separate that army, attacks happening everywhere, a lot of those Colossi doing a ton of damage in the background, but the Colossi getting absolutely wiped out, destroying everything, and Mana realizing it's not enough. He just didn't have it. And I would have actually liked to see that, that looked like it was a fun attack happening out, but let me show you what's happening in the meantime here. Actually drops at the main, also at the third. So even, that's probably why GG before that attack even finished. Show you on the mini-map. So even if he had won this fight, it looks like there would have been enough for StrelokK to redefend, and it looks like Mana didn't have anything in position to defend against these drops at his main or his natural, or his, sorry, not his natural, his gold expansion. So well played by StrelokK, completely keeping Mana off balance, just showing what I like to see out of StrelokK. I don't think Mana really had his best game there. He's definitely an excellent player, and hopefully I'll see him in just playing at his best in a near StarCraft 2 replay, but nevertheless, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Peace.